Hello and welcome to Passing the Bar, a video lecture series brought to you by Delaware Law School. My name is Brett Bendistis. I am the Associate Director of Bar Pass programs here at the law school. And this video lecture series is aimed at giving you an overview of Bar Pass programs that we have in the next couple months leading in the bar exam to kind of give you an extra boost at figuring out how to pass the bar. Now, before I get into the individual points of it, I want to kind of address what I think is maybe like the elephant in the room, which might be the idea of you wondering why we're giving you more work about the bar exam before graduation, before you even get involved in the specifics, the nitty gritty of studying for the bar. I think that in general, there's going to be a large portion of your summer where you're going to have to be dedicated to the idea of memorizing and in some instances learning new topics of law that are very particular to the state that you want to pass the bar in. Now, the idea of like you sitting and learning these outlines and learning the elements, I mean, a lot of it might be somewhat repetitive of the things that you already learned. However, there's a great saying that I always like where it's like the difference between knowledge and wisdom is like knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit, and wisdom is knowing not to put it in fruit salad. Now, thinking about that analogy, which again, I love it, right? The point is there is that like the knowledge of the bar exam is something that you have to learn on your own. And like I can't teach you how to memorize something. I can give you some suggestions, obviously. But the wisdom of the bar exam is the idea of like, how do you spot the issues? How do you know how to convey the information? How do you know what the best way to write that information is? Because a bar exam is not the same as like a midterm. It's not the same as a final exam. It's not the same as a legal memo. And so one of the things that we want to be able to provide for you is the idea like when you sit for the bar exam, it's not that you've memorized the information. I mean, no more than any other class that you've taken over the last 3 years. None of those classes are about memorization. They're about comprehension and conveyance. And that's really the idea of what we're looking for here. How do we make sure that when you sit for the bar exam, when you've memorized the material, you know exactly what you need to do to make sure you meet the minimum requirements to pass the bar. Now, if you haven't watched my first video, you probably, or if you have or you haven't, I'm relentlessly positive when it comes to passing the bar. I think the bar is something that is hard but not impossible. And so one of the things about these programs is we want to make sure that it is more hard and it's not impossible. And the idea that memorizing all that information becomes your main focus. And when you're practicing, multi-choice questions, for, the performance test, the bar exam questions, that you know exactly what it is you're supposed to do and you're exactly knowing like what has to be done to make sure you're there. So again, your job gets easier. That's the main point here. I recognize the idea that we're asking you to maybe pass on like lunches or free time or even Friday evenings, right? But there's another expression that I really like. It's like, well, if you want to be a professional, being a professional is doing your job when you don't want to do it. I think a lot of what we're asking here and what we're providing is the point of not only is it about being a professional, right? Kind of seeing the big picture of like, this bar exam is the most important exam you're ever going to take professionally for right now. And so giving you the opportunity now to be prepared, to get ready, gives you such a leg up for the time when it actually happens. The other thing is the hope, is that it makes it easier. We want to make sure the bar exam is easier for everyone. Every single faculty member at Delaware Law School wants your bar exam experience to be easier than you just doing it on your own. And so our belief is that if you take advantage of every single one of these programs, the bar exam will be easier, right? It will be hard, but it won't be impossible. And that's ultimately what we're shooting for. Now, the first program is something that you've probably already heard about. You've probably RSVP'd, which is Bar Boot Camp. So Bar Boot Camp is 3 successive Fridays in March, first Friday in April. And essentially there's 2 4-hour sessions both in the morning and the afternoon. Now the goal of these boot camp sessions are essentially to review practice exams, giving you some insight on how you should view it, how you should think about it. We're going to give you sample exams. We're going to include the performance test, essay questions, and multiple choice questions, and really give you an idea of like what are bar examiners looking for? What do they want? What's the best approach? What should you be looking for with each and every single one of these questions? And what are some study tips that really kind of make sure you have a hand and you know what you're looking for? I found that like practicing the exam was probably the smartest thing I did the second time I took the bar. So I took Pennsylvania, New Jersey in 2007. And then the next year I took the Delaware bar exam. So when I took the Delaware bar exam, it was like, it's like during the week. And the weekend before, it was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I took the bar exam in my kitchen. I got a sample bar and I just, really mimicked the exact experience. started the bar when the bar started. I had the same breakfast, I had the same lunch, I went to bed at the same time to make sure that, like, I knew exactly what to expect. And what I learned from taking the bar exam was that the Delaware bar exam was fast, right? That I realized that, like, in order to get to every single question, I couldn't give the level of detail that I was accustomed to when I was taking like a 4-hour wills and trust exam. The wonderful Leslie Johnson, who I had for wills and trusts, right? Is the idea that, like, to know what it is that you should be looking for, to kind of get an idea of like, well, this is good and maybe this isn't the same that you really need, is the kind of thing that we want to prepare. You're going to have 2 faculty members for every session. And I can only speak to the idea that I think that these faculty members are incredibly helpful. You have Dean Clark and Michael Lofts. You have Alice Eakin and Alicia Kelly. Alicia Kelly, I would also note, gave me the best advice I ever had about approaching law school exams, changed my entire life in a 15-minute meeting. I cannot speak highly enough about Alicia Kelly. And then myself and Leslie Johnson are going to have the last Friday. We're going to go over multiple choice exams. Maybe the headliner. We'll see how it goes, right? But the point being is that we want to make sure that you have the idea of how to spot issues, prepare answers, and convey your knowledge in the best idea possible. When I told you that I took a bar exam, like, I didn't give it to anybody. I just, like, I was hoping that I really had the answers right. And so what we want to be able to do is make sure that you have not only someone who teaches you the information and not just a computer who reviews your answers, but like a person who is aware of how these bar exams work, experts in how and what these examiners are looking for to be able to give you the best possible knowledge, like a cheat code to make your life easier, right? That's the best way I can put it, is that this is information that you can't just sort of memorize and study on your own, but it's the kind of thing that gives you the extra hand that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise if the program wasn't there. That's why we think that this is so important. Now, in addition to that, we have these things that we're planning called bar boosters. Now, bar boosters you want to keep an eye out for in the future. The idea is that we want to have focused lectures on specific topics that will assist in your bar preparation. These aren't going to be like the 4-hour lectures going over really particular exam strategies. But the idea is that we want to have like some lunch sessions that are sort of just giving you a good idea of things that we've seen that people could use an extra boost for. It's not going to be repetitive, right? In the sense that we don't want to repeat the idea of things that you've already covered. But for example, the thing that we're probably planning for right now is to give you a bar booster on like family law. You know, family law is a non-required course. And so maybe you've gone through law school and you haven't taken family law and you're thinking, well, how am I going to study? How am I going to learn family law over summer when I also have to learn all the other topics associated with the bar? Now I'm going to give you a short answer. It's possible. It's doable, right? I did it. I didn't take any bar exam classes on family law, but I did pass a exam that had family law on the question, and I've practiced family law since then. So to me, it's a topic where, again, you still have to do the work. You still have to like learn the standards and put everything together. But I think even having 90 minutes with somebody who's able to say, you know, this is what they're looking for. This is the way to approach the problem. I think that can be helpful. You know, again, family laws, it takes a little bit of memorization, but I also tend to think it's the kind of stuff where if you know the other elements and you've obviously gone 3 years of law school, it's the kind of thing that I think will give you that extra boost that'll make learning that new topic easier. Again, easier. That's the key thing. We want every one of these programs where if you sacrifice something, you're giving up your time, we're going to make it worth your while. And so the key thing here is that we're going to organize the lectures around sample bar questions. And so the expert faculty member who knows that topic is going to give you a lecture that really tells you, like, here are the ways to approach it. Here are the things to think about. And again, just making your life easier. That's the key thing that we want to do here. The last and final thing that we're going to have here is the bar mentorship program. Now, this is an expansive program that we're going to provide a little bit more information on than just this slide. But within the next week or two, select students are going to be provided an assigned and a mentor that's going to work with you over the course of the semester to work on the idea of, again, writing and issue spotting through a couple coordinated exam questions. Now, the way this is going to work is that you're going to be assigned someone through our office, and that person is going to give you an exam question, just one question, and they're also going to give you an outline of information. Now, the key thing is that it's just one question, right? Again, it's not the kind of thing where we want you to spend like 15 hours working on a question. You don't have to do any independent research. Just take the material that's being provided and give us an answer. And the benefit of the Bar Mentor program is that you're going to have someone who's going to review your answer and tell you, here are some things that are good. Here's some things that you can work on, and really kind of give a detailed analysis of your writing. Again, it's not a robot. It's not, the computerized program, which have their benefits. But this is someone who's going to be able to kind of understand like who you are, what you work with, what you struggle with, what you're good at, and kind of make sure that you have some one-on-one feedback that can really kind of give you a hand. The way it's going to work is that every question is going to be focused on topics, and they're going to progressively become a little bit more involved. We're going to start with outlines, maybe include some video lectures, just to give you an idea of not only the idea of taking the bar exam, but also the process of studying for the bar exam. Now, in general, if I can go all the way back to the elephant in the room here, the bar mentorship program, I recognize is more work. And I recognize the idea that it's on top of all the other things that you want to do, right? Like I remember my last semester, I was in moot court, law review. I did the Mo Levine Trial Society. I worked for a judge. I was really busy, right? But I also tend to think that like taking a little bit of extra time to, again, focus on the thing that's most important and most beneficial for your professional career can only be positive. And I also will note that like the bar mentor is not just for the spring, but it can give you more, right? It can kind of help you out when it comes to the course of study and kind of give you some pointers, be a a North Star to really check in with. Because I recognize the idea that the way we study for bar exams can probably be a little lonely. And I told this story to the dean the other day, where like I was studying for the bar exam in my apartment. I lived on Carpenter Station Road, if anybody knows where that is in North Wilmington. And some religious folks knocked on the door to kind of just spread messages. And normally that's just the kind of thing where, you sort of maybe don't answer the door. I was so lonely studying for the bar where I was like, yes, yes, you have my attention. Let's sit and talk. And so like I got to talk for someone for like 45 minutes. They were very nice. They were like, we believe in you. We're going to say some prayers for you. And again, I passed the bar, so maybe that helped. But the point being is that like this is someone you can talk to, and you can like really check in and make sure that someone's there to kind of look after you, to make sure that like you've got at least one friend when you're kind of in the middle of the storm. Because once again, the summer is a lot of fun for a lot of people, and your summer probably isn't going to be that much fun because it's going to be a lot of studying. Again, it's worth it. Nothing worth doing ever came easy, and this is a great example of that. But I also tend to think that it's someone you can rely on and count on, which is why we really want to make sure that you stay in contact with this person and you kind of make sure that these exams give your energy. Again, I don't think any of the thing that we're asking here, any of the things that are included in the program are real Herculean tasks, but it's just kind of some sacrifices that are for a really greater good that's not only beneficial for you, but once again, it's beneficial for the entire law school. So that's what we want more than anything. We want to make sure that if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you need any help, we're able to do that in the way that's best possible. Now, I want to point one last thing out before I go. I want to do these lectures throughout the course of the spring, right? Maybe leading into the summer, we'll kind of figure out different topics to make sure they're included. What I'd like to do is, you see my email right here. It's babendistis@widener.edu. If you have any questions about the bar exam, any questions whatsoever, whether it's your application, whether it's studying for the bar, whether it's the process of picking a provider, anything, taking the bar, anything, right? Email me. Email me, and maybe I'll do another video lecture on some questions. Again, I'm not going to give your full name. I don't have to give any of your names. But the point is that if you have a question, I'm sure everybody has it. Again, I don't remember thinking about the bar exam in late February of 2007, but there probably were a lot of things when the time came where I really wanted to know some answers. And so I would love to answer every question. Now, I recognize the idea that if I get no questions, there will be no video. So I would encourage you to think about it, right? You don't have to send it immediately after here. But again, keep my email handy. It's Bendistis. It's pronounced exactly as it's spelled. And all you have to do is put my last name. It'll autofill the rest. And again, I'm more than happy to answer any questions, both to you directly, but also in a lecture series. Because if I don't know the answer, I want to make sure that I find who knows the answer and I can give you the hand. I also note that you see here, I kind of breezed over this last time. If you put my name into YouTube, there's some video lectures on blue booking, legal research, IRAC writing. And then I do a podcast on the United States Supreme Court called The Citizen's Guide to the Supreme Court that's available wherever podcasts are provided. And so if you're interested in hearing more of my voice, if you haven't heard enough already, please do so. I will note one last thing before I leave, right? I practice what I preach when it comes to professionalism. It is midnight right now. I have 2 children who are asleep upstairs, but I wanted to record a video because I wanted to make sure that, again, this message comes across clear and you know exactly what it is that you're coming into. So again, everyone here wants to make sure that you're successful, and that's everything that we're providing over here over the course of the next few weeks. If you have any questions, you can always email me or Michael Lofts. You can stop by our office in the Student Affairs office. But the number one thing is we want you to be successful. And so accomplishing these goals, having these programs is the best way that we can do it. But if you have any suggestions, concerns, or questions, please email us. We're more than happy to cover it as well. Good luck over the course of the semester. I'll see many of you probably at very least in the bar boot camp, but hopefully in other circumstances as well. Have a wonderful rest of your semester, and I'll see you all soon.